What's up, New World fans? Coffee Noob here with another episode of Coffee Noob TV. Today we're going to react to the devs releasing their Christmas update. I didn't know that they dropped it on Christmas. That was pretty slick of them because I didn't expect that at all. I was looking a couple days prior every day, making sure to see it when it's coming out for the Q&A. Never came out, so I was like, oh, well, it's Christmas now. It's not going to come out, and they dropped it. So I didn't find out until I was watching BDLG's reaction to it, which I had to stop because I didn't know that's what it was about. So I will get to that BDLG. Thanks, still, for letting me know. So now I get to react to it. Anyway, let's do it. All right, guys, here we go. It's paused right now, but I could already tell that avatar there is the Cartman avatar. So shout out to that person. Anyway, let's get going. Let's see. We got how bad and what was the problem. Well, we'll let them read it, but I have a feeling that these questions are not going to be very nice considering all that happened in season 4 with the goof ups and everything. So let's get to it.
How bad and what was problem with the initial season 4 release? Why do they keep developing things that no one asked for? I've never been more disappointed.
Okay, the festivities will slow down just a little bit now.
Yep. What I am glad about, and I got to give them props for, is they are accepting these tough questions. So, they have complete control over which ones they're going to show, right? And they have shown the hard ones, it looks like, so far. So let's go.
Hey everybody, welcome to Forge and Eternum, where we talk about all things New World. This is the December edition of the Q&A, airing on Christmas Day. And as you can tell, the three of us, two of us are extremely festive, and then there's Scott. He didn't get the memo, I guess. So what we're excited about since it's Christmas is the questions are going to be full of the Christmas spirit, and they're going to be warm and cozy, and we're really excited to have an easier one of these, which I'm sure is coming.
I think he knows that is not the case.
I did want to address, we'd love nothing more than to tell you, here's everything we're planning to do in 2024. We just can't do that right now. We're just not able. But I can tell you, it's going to be a lot. I can't tell you how excited we are.
I'm okay with that. I guess I'm sure some people complained about that, but when they released the whole year, the year before, things change. So it doesn't bother me at all. The fact that they gave us up to May is cool. Again, I've said this before, I'll say it again. I don't know a lot of games that even do this in general. Like, they give us a lot of updates and they kind of tell us what their plans are, It's pretty cool.
Just did, but kind of. But there's a lot coming in 2024, but we're not going to be able to get into the specifics yet. It's just something we're not able to do. Anyway, with that, Mr. Lovin, who is also, like Scott, you can take solace that he's also not very festively dressed today, but he doesn't seem to care. Let's have the questions, and let's enter this with the Christmas spirit, the holiday spirit.
How bad and what was problem with the initial season 4 release? This delayed fix version, still really bad quality. So want to know what original version was like.
I can start with that one. So the delay for season 4 was mainly an issue with the way we were testing the build. We thought there were some issues that we had detected. It sort of sent us on a little bit of a wild goose chase. The actual problems, though, weren't something that we found internally. There was a lot of underlying code changes that weren't tied to a particular feature, and it can be frustrating sometimes when it doesn't seem like this particular season had, a ton of brand new features, but it was still kind of buggy, and that's because, we've been talking about doing, technical improvements, quality of life things, kind of behind the scenes things. And they are code changes just as dangerous as any other code change. And unfortunately, we didn't catch some of those things, and they went out.
So I don't know if they're gonna bring this up, but I want to call BS on this answer so far because from what I've heard, and I haven't done the PTR test myself, but it's been brought up immediately that there was huge issues with like the dungeon, for example, and from my understanding, at least trying to play the game, that was the biggest problem they had when they had to lock out the dungeon initially, couldn't even play it. They had, I can't remember, also the seasonal like quest line content was locked out initially. So they first delayed the release by a day. Then when they did release it, all that stuff was locked out. So again, calling BS on this, I don't know what the issues were, but I do know from what other players told me is that they did play the PTR and that it was addressed. It was told, they told the devs, like this is an issue that we're having. So
yeah, I mean, just to add on, I think we're not happy with the way the release went either. I think, this is obviously a joyful time in the world, but in our game, this release did not go super well. I think the good news out of all this is we just, well, today, I'll tell you what day we're filming. We're filming on the 18th. We released the minor today, and I do think, the 19th. We released the minor last night, the 12/18, and I do think that brings with it all the stability. The server crashes should be fixed. The glacial tarn issue should be fixed. Some of the quest progression issues should be fixed. So I do think we've achieved stability again in our build, but it did take a week, and I think that's unacceptable. We need to find ways to sort of find these issues more internally and get them into the build when we release it, not a week later. So that's something we're working on and looking for process improvements on.
Bottom line, we got to do better. Like, this is just not where we want the bar. It's not good enough. So I can apologize, but that doesn't really carry a lot of weight other than we're going to do better. And, we're going to hold ourselves to a higher standard.
I hope so. And again, at least they're admitting, that they messed up and that they're wrong and they want to do better, but it's been going on for a while now. This was probably the worst one out of all the seasons that I remember for sure. But yeah, that sucks. And I want the game to do well. I do, and I don't want to poo-poo all over everything that they're trying to do. I think they're doing a good job overall. There's a lot more content now and everything, even though I know PvPers aren't getting what they want. It's just these kind of things are unacceptable for sure, which they said, but it's just, you can't have it happen, man. Like, I don't know.
Will controller lock-on and aim assists only be for PvE, or will they be for PvP as well?
It's a great question, a very hot topic in the community. It's been fun reading people's opinions here.
It's probably not been fun. I think what he means by that is, holy crap, everyone's pissed off about it, because I think they are.
So we will likely try a couple things throughout the course of development, I think. Initially, we are not going to have lock-on active during PvP. I think PvP is the more skill-based activity. We want to try it without that. Some of the aim assists will likely be active, though, and how aggressively they're tuned is another thing we'll be looking at.
Yeah, we're going to, if we do try it out, just provide feedback. And keep in mind that we're going to be getting feedback from a lot of sources. So I think the more the better, and it helps us, hone in on the right decision.
For sure, and this will be active in the PTR when Season 5 comes out, so that'll be a great time to jump on the PTR, give us any feedback on it.
All right. So I don't really care, to be honest, about the controller thing. In terms of the controller being implemented into the game, I think it's a good thing overall, because I think that's just a stepping stone for them releasing the game on console, which should bring an influx of people, which this game desperately needs. And as long as they don't screw up that release, I'm hoping that this is really going to boost the game and we're going to see a lot more players. It's just going to I'm hoping 2024 is where this game blows up.
All right, my question is,
in a good way.
I saw in the dev update video about the finally upcoming Cross-World Expeditions, but what happens with the Cross-World Arena 3v3? Can you give us a little more information about it? Thanks, and happy holidays.
Well, he said happy.
Yeah, so thank you, and happy holidays right back at you. So for the Cross-World Expeditions that are coming out early next year, we will be, that'll support our vanilla expeditions as well as our mutations. And so we're sort of staggering things because we want to build one thing at a time and try and make sure that we're on solid footing before we expand and build on top of things. So the 3v3 Arenas Cross-World is something that we're planning on eventually and will be coming in the future.
Yeah, I think.
I mean, in a coding sense, I don't really understand everything that's going on behind the scenes and what the issues are, but I do remember when they released initially, or at least talked about, we're going to have cross-server OPR. They said that was going to lay the foundation for them to be able to release all these other instances easier. So the fact that they're delaying already the cross-server expedition finder, and now they're telling us they're not sure when 3v3 is going to come out, is an issue for me personally, because if they already have the foundation, I'm not sure what's taking so long. But again, I say this in a way where I don't completely understand all the issues behind the scenes. It's just like, what the hell for me.
You know, we started with OPR because I think that was a great use case. It's one of our bigger modes, so getting people in there quickly was more important.
And that got our cross-world tech in place.
And then we're going to move on to expeditions, because I think that's, you know, our largest PvE game mode. And arenas is very soon on the docket after.
And expeditions allows us.
Which honestly, 3v3 really needs, because one, they already messed up the reward system. I think last time they released the major notes on it was they're going to like nerf it essentially. I don't do it, so I don't care again, but it sucks for the players that do. You know, like why did they do that? They made OPR better, I believe, and then they screwed over 3v3s. I tried queuing up for a 3v3 because I was getting my ass kicked in OPR, and then I was like, I just kind of want to try 3v3 with this new set that I set up for my PvP set. And I couldn't even get into a 3v3. Granted, it was late at night, but I was queued up forever, and I just was like, you know what, screw this. It's not even worth my time. I just dropped queue because I was already in there for like 20-25 minutes, couldn't get to 3v3. So I don't know. In my opinion, they desperately need that, but they also need to fix the rewards and make it at least have a point, you know, like give people the incentive to do it.
Us to get our role tech tied into our cross-world tech, and then we're going to expand on that and do more roles.
And it's a big UI change, right, for all our activities and things like that.
What kind of content can we expect to see for the next 12-month period? More focus on PvP or more casual PvE related content?
You can expect to see a lot of both. We have, you know, big plans for where we're going with PvP in 2024. Again, I'm sorry I can't be more specific until May.
I'm hoping that means another map in OPR at least, and then a couple of other different game style plays, like a capture the flag. And I said this before in one of my ideas for a Turnham videos or for New World, but in PvP, I'd really like to see tanks have a taunt that I can actually distract players from what they're currently doing. That'd be super freaking funny and cool.
But we also have a lot we want to do with the PvE and you know, storytelling, making the casual experience better. So we're going to be pushing on them both. And I'm really excited about where we're taking them. Just can't talk about it yet. So I understand that you want it, and I'm sorry that we can't provide that information for you.
Again, I'm okay with that because they don't know how long it's going to take. So for them to release all that information in a fully 1-year roadmap is kind of selfish of us, to be honest. I mean, I know we want a lot of content and I want a lot of content, and I definitely agree with PvPers' standpoint where they should be getting more. They did get 3v3s. We did get races, but the OPR map, for sure, they should have another one by now. And I think they released a 3v3 map, right? A new one recently. Not recently, but for them to come out with a 3v3 map before an OPR map when OPR was the initial mode of PvP, I think they should definitely work on that ASAP.
Serenity is going to be severely overpowered with the new gauntlets mentioned, along with the new Frigid Dawn set. Any updates on a Serenity nerf?
So Serenity
Can we stop with the nerfs before the stuff even comes out? I didn't even get Serenity or the gloves, and I did want to get that for that reason.
is already relatively strong, especially in PvE. I think with certain combinations, it could get strong. I think, we're looking at this. I think as we roll more into Season 5, test it more, see the PTR, there could be some changes there to detract from that strong synergy.
Okay. Why do they keep developing things that no one asked for, like the gamepad? Everyone asking for OPR maps, cyclical PvP content. This video was my last hope to continue playing. At the moment, I don't think I will continue since there is no content to do.
Ouch.
All right, well, first off, I'm sad to hear that you don't want to continue, and I appreciate, even taking the time to come on and make, suggestions, comments, and everything. It's a little unfair to say no one asked for the controller. I think if you were to go parse the feedback, there was actually a ton of people asking for it. Maybe just not in your circle or the people who play the way you play.
I got to agree with that. When people, clearly it's an emotional comment that's being made, and I understand the emotion behind it, but for you can't have your opinion, it's like, oh, well, my opinion's everybody, that's an anecdotal thing. You can't say because you don't want it that no one wants it.
And I think I've said a few times, we try to appreciate the broad audience and we try to push features forward that the different segments want. And controller was a pretty big one. And I think it was important for us on top of that because our combat, from the beginning, our vision was to get this with a controller. We always thought it would feel better with a controller, and we were excited to do that. That said, I have said this a few times already, but in May, we're going to have a lot to talk about. And I think that it's safe to say that PvP players are going to have something that's going to excite them.
Adding the chromatic seals to the winter event is great. It's helping players acquire the seals they need to update gear faster. Is there any plan to add more ways to get chromatic seals past the winter event?
Good question.
Yeah, I think we were just actually talking about this. It's a really nice addition to the winter event. It gives you, sort of a lasting tail for the event even after you get
Absolutely.
Your
I'm really happy with it. Not to cut them off, but prior events, you would get everything else that's in there, like the emotes and the furniture and all that crap, right? And it's like people would basically do it for a couple days and then nobody was doing it afterwards. So if you didn't do it the initial few days, you could never get a group to like do the Yeti, for example, to get the spikes that you need to get the tokens, et cetera, right? So the fact that they added things that are great for the current content outside of the event is awesome. You got the Azoth inductors, you have the 700 gear score pieces you can craft if you want. I believe it comes with luck, so I'm not really bothering with that. But for people that are starting out, if they need some gear, that's a good way for them to do it. And then you have the chromatic seals, which is huge.
cosmetics and stuff. So we like this pattern of, adding things like chromatic seals or dark matter to the events. I would assume we're going to do that again. I don't want to do
Well,
it
that's
on
right. I
every...
forgot about that. The dark matter from the Yeti. So now it's kind of like if you need dark matter, which a lot of people do because they did upgrade their stuff, you can get 45 per day from killing the Yeti 3 times a day. So it's awesome.
event, right? Like we want it to feel special, but I can see us following this pattern again.
I think the key is finding more fun ways to get these things. Chromatic seals, Azoth inductors, whatever they may be, dark matter.
Yeah.
Maybe this event, maybe like other creative fun ways to get them to help give you reasons to explore the different content avenues we have.
For sure.
Why is there absolutely no new content on the February to May roadmap discussed in today's video? I have never been more disappointed in a New World video. It's almost like you are punking us.
I don't know what they're going to say to that, but that's untrue. They talked about the 10-man, I forgot the name for it. Anyway, let's let them talk about it. But they talked about a new event as well, like some kind of dragon thing. And then also a 10-man expedition, or it's not an expedition. I can't remember the name of it.
Okay, the festivities will slow down just a little bit now. I can promise and assure you we would never punk any of the players on this kind of stuff. I also don't think it's entirely fair to say there's absolutely no new content on the roadmap. I mean, we've announced a trial. 10-person trial, which is a fairly significant piece of content. We have several events, including a brand new one, the Year of the Dragon.
This is probably an emotional person again, anecdotally speaking for themselves, or maybe just their friends that they play with that only like PvP or something. So no content means there's no PvP that has been introduced. And again, I don't even play PvP really at all, but I do feel for the PvP players because there has been a lot more PvE that's come out prior, as opposed to PvP stuff. But I don't know. I'm assuming the reason for that would be that more play PvE than they do PvP. So are they making when they're making new content and making those decisions, that's probably what's determining that. Like they look at the amount of players that do one thing and the amount of players that do another. And it is what it is. It sucks. I think it sucks. If you have a huge player base of PvP players, you should still make that too. And it sounds like they're going to. It's just, it does suck that it's taken as long as it is.
Dragon, all of the things we're doing to Group Finder, improve Group Finder, cross-world expeditions is new content. There's a bunch of new artifacts coming out. I mean, it may not be as much as you want, but absolutely no new content, I think, is an unfair statement. And all I can say is the team is working their tails off, and we're doing as much as we can. And I'm sorry you feel that way. However, we would never, ever intentionally or unintentionally punk any of the players.
And bear in mind, there's no monetization from how much of this. I mean, yes, we had the expansion that just recently came out, right? But prior to that, they released how much stuff and we didn't have to pay anything for it. I mean, you had the $20, I think the game's $40 base, right? I can't remember. But they've had several sales on the game itself, so you would get it half off for $20. And then now, yes, they have the expansion that just came out, which I believe is $30. But other than that, you can argue there's a quote unquote like semi pay to win with the seasonal stuff, but you don't have to pay for that. And you really don't get like that great of stuff. You definitely don't get anything that's unobtainable through the free version of the game. So I don't agree with it being pay to win. I see why people are upset by it a little bit, but you don't have to do it. And you're still getting all this content. You don't have to pay to get the seasonal content. You know what I mean? That's all free. So I don't agree with it either. I think they're right about that.
Are you
Do
looking
you
at
need help with the lights here, by the way?
Very seasonal.
Are you looking at influence races to adjust them again? Currently, the way it works, we still just have everyone going to one race of the more important zone. Also, the change has effectively cut off content for those who cannot get on a bit later due to real-life issues. Perhaps 2 at 8 p.m. and then 1 at 9 p.m. and 1 at 10 p.m.
Yeah, so the changes,
Good question. I know of some people that can't do it because of the time that it starts. I don't care because I don't do it, but yeah, that's definitely a good question. Let's see what they say.
I think this player's talking about are specific to Abaton right now.
That's a world.
And we're trying to test kind of different configurations, preferably to help distribute players out to help with server scale issues. But it's nothing we're hard committed to right now. On most worlds, it is still, I think 8, 9, 10, and 11 are the windows, and there's only one race at a time. We haven't made a firm decision of committing to any changes right now, but we're definitely like getting the data and trying to figure things out.
I would like to see, and I just literally thought of this right now because I had another idea before this about races, but I understand that they want it to be open world, but clearly there's an issue when there's too many people that the server just can't handle it. I guess it's very server intensive on their end. So if that's the case, then why not just make it like a cross world kind of sign up thing that you can do too? And then that way people can do it whenever, wherever, right? And then you can have like maybe have a system set up where it's like, okay, we're going to tally up how many won on each team, on each faction, and that's the one that's going to get the thing for, I guess it would affect every server, it would have to, unless they're going to look at all the servers individually, but just an idea, have it set to its own server where it has its own resources to pull from, and it's not going to be bogging down because it's an open world. I don't know. Again, I don't know how all the behind the scenes stuff works. I don't know how they're found, like all their coding and everything works, but just a thought.
And we hear the feedback,
Yeah,
right? Like
for
we
sure.
understand the dilemma that player's in, and I think it's a fair one.
Yeah.
Okay. LOL. What are you doing by reducing the content with Winter Warrior? Do y'all even play the game? There's nothing to do because you dropped 2 new items worth of content for Season 4, and now you're time gating the amount of hail spikes you can get each day? Y'all are trash, man.
Ouch.
Plenty of players have stayed devoted to your game, and you just on peeps.
Well,
Rough.
sorry you feel that way. I've actually really been enjoying the winter event. I think it's brought some new some new reward vectors for it. The activities are fun. We do realize that changing the reward scheme sort of partially through an event is something that's a little bit dangerous. We did that partially because we've been seeing some server loads with the events. Like it's been very popular, and that's led to a lot of people sort of zerging these Yetis in an endless chain, and that's put a lot of strain on the server. So moving to sort of a daily mechanism, I think, will help that. So it's partially for that, but it's also partially, and I wish we had done this from the start, but I think this is a better pattern, I think, for
I like it,
most
to be honest.
players, right? Like, you don't want to kill.
I didn't want to have to farm it all day, every day, because just because you can, and you get those spikes. I think the limiting it to 3 a day, and you get a lot more premium tokens from the spikes is a lot better. And if you did have some excess spikes, I guess, or like more prior to the patch change, you can turn in 5 per day, right? You can only earn 3 per day now, but you can turn in up to 5 per day, so you get 10 premium tokens. That's essentially an emote every day, So what I always try to do for myself is make sure I have enough for the inductor and the chromatic seal when the cooldowns are going to come up, and then if I have a surplus of premium tokens, I buy whatever I want with it, right? I mean, I don't know. It doesn't bother me at all. I like it because I have way more things to do in this game than sit there and kill the Yeti all day.
Kill 30 Yetis a day, I don't think. But killing 3 a day and then allowing us to really amp up the rewards, right? Like what this comment did mention is now each Yeti kill is worth like 4 times actually 5 times what the original one was.
Yep.
So it's, you get your sort of daily fix of premium tokens quicker, and it feels like you've accomplished a task and can move on and do other stuff.
I mean, yeah, otherwise you're going to feel like, oh, I have to log on today and do it every single time I can. And that becomes your whole experience, this one thing. And it's just it doesn't sustain, and it becomes work and not play.
Yeah. And so like I get it from their standpoint. But again, everyone has their own opinion on things. If people I like to gather a lot, right? So that grind doesn't bother me, as opposed to maybe some people that don't mind the grind of having to kill the Yeti all day or they want to. I don't know. But if it's also an issue of that bogging down the servers on their side because there's just so many people clumped up into one spot where the Yeti is, I get that, I get that they want to alleviate that. Would you want the game to crash because everyone's over there, and then you're gonna be mad about that, right? And I think you'd be more mad about that than having a cap on the Yeti itself.
So yeah, I think in the future our goal will be to sort of align the reward systems with what works on the server and sort of feels good to an average player, and we'll try to do that at the start next time.
That's the extent of the questions we're pulling today. There wasn't any questions about OPR, just acknowledging that we addressed. But
yeah, I mean, there were no questions about OPR because as much as we'd like to talk about the future plans, we're just not in a position to. I can assure you that we see all the questions and we fully understand players want another OPR map, and we're going to take that and we're going to compare that against all the other things players want. And we're going to try to make what we think are the best decisions for the long-term health of the game.
Okay. Yeah, well, that's all I got for today. But we'll be back next month.
Next year.
Next year, yeah.
Yes. 2024, big year, but let's not rush there. It's, we're still in the holiday season, and I hope you all have a fantastic holiday. And, I hope you two have a fantastic holiday. I hope you and your family have a great holiday, Mr. Levin. And you gonna try to time this out again? How about no? And we will see you in Eternum.
That wasn't so bad. Yeah, that was better. That was a better time to see you in
We're going
Eternum.
to talk about balance after the Season 4 Eternal Frost release and potentially some changes coming out of that.
All right, so that's that. I'm not disappointed with it. I do, again, appreciate that they take the tough questions that they did. I think something is coming for OPR. I don't see how you can not see that. It's just that they are not ready to make any statements that they are, committing to, I guess, right? And they didn't want to give us anything past May, which for me doesn't bother me at all. It's unfortunate that there isn't more, I guess, content coming from then and from now until May. But yeah, in terms of that comment, that was, there's no content at all. That's not true. That is not true. There's stuff coming out, but as a PvE player, I do feel for the PvP players because they should definitely get some more content. Anyway, that's it for me, guys. Thanks. If you like, please follow, comment, leave a like, all that good stuff. Sorry, I'm just, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Anyway, thanks again. Coffee Noob, out.